This wedding was an assignment for my Religion 2 class in Catholic school.
This one's wife. This will send her nuts. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. This one's wife is deluded. She's deluded in relation to many things. She's deluded in respect of how popular she perceives herself to be. She's deluded as to her talents. She believes that she's an impressive businesswoman, speaker, politician, when she clearly is not. She is deluded to the extent that she believes that any man that looks upon her immediately wants to bone her, and that any woman that sees her is in admiration of her and wants to be like her. She believes that young children adore her, even though most of them want to run away from her. She believes that she's much loved around the world, and that anybody that doesn't must clearly have something wrong with them. She believes that she is a fashion icon, that whatever she puts on makes herself look elegant, radiant, magnificent. She believes that she is heart attack beautiful. This one's wife will stand in front of a mirror and believe herself to look stunning. Believe me, she will stand naked in front of a mirror on her own and be pleased with what she sees. I don't know if you've ever watched the film Stardust. It's an excellent film. And in that, Michelle Pfeiffer plays a witch. And part of the plot is that the witches need to cut out the heart of a fallen star because it rejuvenates them in terms of looks and youthfulness. Michelle Pfeiffer's witch has become old and haggard. Bits of her are droopy, shriveled, warped. But she utilizes part of an existing star's heart to rejuvenate herself, and then drops her robe and looks at herself in the mirror, smiling with contentment and issuing a facial expression akin to that of Patrick Bateman's "ooh" in American Psycho, where she very much likes what she sees. If she were made of chocolate, she would eat herself. If you've seen that particular scene in Stardust, where Michelle Pfeiffer regards herself in the mirror, that's what I'd like you to conjure up in your mind as I talk about the way that this one's wife regards herself. It's very much the case that if this one's wife were made of chocolate, she would eat herself. She looks upon herself and sees a stunning goddess. She doesn't see the chicken legs or the linebacker shoulders. She doesn't see the absence of a waist. She doesn't see the fact that she's practically no bust. She doesn't see the huge vein that throbs in the middle of her forehead, or the oversized teeth protruding from her mouth. What she sees is somebody that is heart attack beautiful, radiant, compelling, somebody sexy, somebody delicious, somebody that you would want to be. Then when she places on the borrowed clothing that doesn't fit her properly, she believes that she looks $1 million. She believes that she looks like a Hollywood A-lister attending the Oscars, that people will be wowed by her appearance. Accordingly, as a somatic narcissist, she goes into the world believing that she is beautiful, that she is someone that you would look upon and you'd go, wow. This, of course, has been buoyed by sycophants that will praise her because it suits them to do so. The reaction of Harry, who was simply thinking with little Harry when he praised her, and others that have commented upon her in a favourable fashion. All of that provides her with positive fuel and reinforces the delusion that she is truly stunning and beautiful. Now, it would be lacking balance to suggest that she's ugly. There are pictures of her where she doesn't look so good at all, and there are others where she scrubs up reasonably well. She's neither stunningly beautiful nor hideous. she's fairly mediocre when it comes to looks, and one can point to certain things that she has done to alter her appearance, which perhaps have not been entirely successful. Nevertheless, notwithstanding that balanced appraisal, this one's wife regards herself as truly amazing in the looks department, and therefore any portrayal that contradicts that is deemed to be a hate-filled attack upon her and will infuriate her. It will ignite her fury because repeatedly her narcissism tells her, "You are beautiful, you are sensual, you are sizzingly attractive." And any suggestion to the contrary must be a lie, must be motivated by hate, by racism, by misogyny. Because after all, there stands the evidence in the mirror. Accordingly, a recent portrait of this one's wife will cause her to be infuriated. You might think that as a narcissist, she would delight in the fact that somebody has taken the trouble to paint a portrait of her. That they have done so that would provide her with positive fuel, because she's so noteworthy that an individual has taken the time to break out the paint and paint a portrait of her. It's fuel because it's an act in relation to her, a response to her existence. But it will be challenge fuel, because rather than being flattered, this one's wife will be alarmed by the recent portrait that came about, for it does not make her look beautiful in the way that she sees herself. Victoria Ward in the Telegraph reported, "The Duchess of Sussex has been portrayed as a white queen in a nod to her influential outsider status." Now, notwithstanding such a description, which would indeed please her to be referred to as a queen and to be influential, this would still be overridden by the content of the portrait, which, as you can see on your screen, is one which wouldn't find pleasure for her because it wouldn't accord with her own image of herself. Artist Dan Llewellyn-Hall depicted this one's wife, 42, as Dame Elizabeth Grey, who became Queen of England after marrying Edward IV in 1464, and Prince Harry, 39, as Charles Edward Stuart, otherwise known as Bonnie Prince Charlie. The artist said, "I thought putting this one's wife in the role of the White Queen, who was a queen consort, and possibly the most influential outsider in royal history, might have a fine irony to it, and not necessarily beyond the realms of reality." Llewellyn-Hall, who at 32 was the youngest artist to paint Elizabeth II, has produced 10 new portraits inspired by royalty throughout history for the Society of Antiquaries. Artist Adam Dant has painted a further 10 works. Their exhibition, titled The Reign, marks the 150th anniversary of the Society, which is based at Burlington House in London's Piccadilly and will be auctioned to support the cataloguing and digitisation of around 25,000 prints and drawings from the 18th and 19th centuries. Llewellyn-Hall said, "The royal family is possibly the most enthralling, longest-running drama in history, the inspiration of theatre, books, and every art form." It seemed that these figures caught on the knife edge of public opinion were ideal for drawing comparisons from distant monarchs, like the exiled princes and princesses of the past that lurk in the background but are still irrevocably tied to the job. We can't help ourselves and wonder whatever next. He added, "In Harry's case, I have entered the story before he met this once wife, the young party-goer with his future very much in the balance, a bit like Bonnie Prince Charlie I've likened him to." Thus, this one's wife is portrayed in this particular way by Llewellyn-Hall, but it will drive her nuts, because it doesn't make her look beautiful. You can recognise that it's her, albeit I think also she looks somewhat like Wallis Simpson, but she won't like it, because it isn't traditional beauty in the way that she sees herself, and as a narcissist, this action will cause offence to her. It will threaten her need for control, resulting in heated, ignited fury. She's not going to attack the artist directly, but rather, should she be aware of this, she will complain to those that would listen about the way that she has not been portrayed properly. What are the views of those below the line? Do they think that it's a good portrait of this one's wife? Do they think that the likeness is appropriate? Surprise Me writes, she does have an androgynous look. Before surgery, her face was more masculine with a heavy jaw, and her torso, with those linebacker shoulders and narrower hips, is more male in proportions. Michael Patel writes, Dorian Gray was lucky. He had an attic to hide away his real hideous appearance. These two, in all their awful, vainglorious, dysfunctional glory, are there for us all to see. Here be bored to death by. Jacqueline France writes, I would suggest he study some history and art. Michael Patel writes again, it resembles a painting by numbers, a picture which has gone badly wrong. Richard Douglas states, I imagine this must be very offensive to blue-grey people. Kevin Oliver, the paintings capture beautifully the twisted and bitter characters of the subjects. Vic Gilstrom, an insult to the White Queen. Robert Lund, I have heard they are not as nice as they look. MP Griffiths, those portraits are so bad, it's laughable. Lorna Bailey, this one's wife, influential. I'm not sure making a jar of jam elevates her to that status. Ian McGregor, personally, I think the artist has captured the characters of his subjects very accurately. The Remittance Man, the Duchess of Sussex has been portrayed as the White Queen. Surely that's racist. Some sarcasm there. Sarah Meadows, White Queen, she won't like that. It looks very sinister. Steve Dyson, Elizabeth Woodville didn't stick labels on jam jars. Thus, no favourable comments, taking the mickey as always, and thus, not only would the fact of this painting offend her and drive her nuts, but the subsequent display to the world of it and the comments associated with it will similarly threaten her sense of control. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.